Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Pope's Politics. Prime Minister's question time again, all ready? Let's see what the government has to say this week.
Chief Minister of St Helena. We now come to questions to Prime Minister Kit Malthouse.
Number one.
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, let me start by congratulating Scotland.
Wow, that quality's bad.
Mr. Speaker, let me start by congratulating Scotland on their magnificent victory.
Yes, well done, Scotland. Well done, lads. We'll see you at the World Cup.
Last night, qualifying for the World Cup for the first time since 1998.
I was alive. I remember it.
Didn't realise you were all Scottish MPs, Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, they qualified with fantastic goals, including a cracker from former Arsenal player Kieran Tierney, who was always a great favourite with the fans. Mr. Speaker, my thoughts are with the communities across the country affected by severe flooding, particularly in Monmouthshire. I've been liaising with the First Minister of Wales and want to thank all our emergency services for their response. Mr. Speaker, my thoughts are also with the family and loved one of Royal Fleet Auxiliary member James Elliott, who has sadly been lost. I know the contribution that personnel of the Royal Fleet Auxiliary make and the risks that they take in the line of duty. My thoughts, and I'm sure the thoughts of the whole House, are with those who knew him at this tragic and difficult time for them. Mr. Speaker, last Thursday I visited Anglesey to announce the construction of the country's first small modular reactor. That's the biggest investment in North Wales in a generation, creating more than 6,000 jobs. On Monday, we introduced the largest overhaul of the asylum policy in modern times, restoring control, fairness and creating safe and legal routes. And today I'm pleased to announce that inflation is coming down. There's more to do, but it's an important step. Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
I hope one of them meetings is about the human rights abuse of British citizens by police forces, but we all know it won't be. It's crazy. We've got a human rights lawyer as Prime Minister who doesn't care about human rights abuse.
Mr. Speaker, many of us are becoming concerned that technical or procedural manoeuvres outside of this House may be used to prevent Parliament reaching a decision on the terminally ill adults bill. Now, the government is neutral on the bill itself, but I presume it's not neutral on the issue of democracy or the primacy of this chamber. So could the Prime Minister please reassure the House that the decision of elected members, and indeed the wishes and hopes of the vast majority of the people we serve, will not be frustrated in this way?
Prime Minister.
Can I thank him for his question? I know he feels strongly about this issue. As he says, the government is neutral on the passage of the bill. It is a matter of conscience, so there are different and respected views across Parliament, and it is for Parliament to decide in the end on any changes in this chamber. Scrutiny of the bill in the Lords is a matter for the Lords, but the government does have a responsibility to make sure that any legislation which passes through Parliament is workable, is effective.
So what he was referring to when he was talking about powers outside of this chamber, controlling the outcome of things discussed in this chamber, he was talking about the House of Lords, who will have to ratify and rectify any issues with the potential assisted dying bill that will be passed through. Yeah. Complicated one.
And of course enforceable.
John Trickett.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Speaker. And the party opposite in government said that they would level up the country, but in fact they left the country divided. Half austerity, in deindustrialisation, stagnant wages, all took ripped the heart out of mining communities like the ones I represent. Everywhere you can see a legacy.
Does a lot of poking him, doesn't he? I bet his wife's happy. Fucking hell.
Which the party opposite left. And how can it be right that the hard-working, loyal people in my constituency earn £400 a week or £20,000 a year less than people who live in Kensington. So will the Prime Minister now declare that it is the government's moral purpose to eliminate economic injustice?
The thing is, right, pointing at people is actually quite rude. I do it myself, right? I've done it. I still might do it. But it is very rude. And like, as a politician, you shouldn't really be standing there when you come up to say your thing and being like, like, I just don't think that's the best way to do it. You should be open. You should be confident in what you're saying. I don't think pointing fingers helps anyone, really. It doesn't solve the problem, does it? Doesn't matter who caused the problem still exists. So pointing fingers, most of the time, solves nothing.
Starting with the budget next week, announcing massive investment in the north and wherever else, poverty and low pay raising its head.
Well, can I thank you for raising this important issue? Because they laugh, but working people paid a very heavy price for 14 years of economic failure. Austerity damaged.
The thing is, right, all the austerity over the 14 years of the Tory government was supposed to be temporary. It was supposed to be a lot of pain in the short term to end the pain in the long term. And if you remember correctly, what the Tories said is, we are all in this together. We're all in this together. Well, it seems like the working class is the one who's had to bail the country out of economic crisis yet again. This time it wasn't the bankers, it was inept financial management by the Tory party and the Labour Party over 100 years. They could blame world events all they like, but if the economy was in a good state when the Tories took over, why did Labour have to sell the gold? And if the Tories did a good job with the economy, why have we got nearly £3 trillion worth of debt?
The economy and decimated public services. A botched Brexit deal stifled growth. And the
was a botched Brexit deal now. I don't know how this country managed to fuck up independence from the EU. I really don't. I know. We'll take back our country and give all the power to rich people and billionaires with no interest in Britain and the British public. That's a great idea. Oh, and we'll remove workers' rights and try and get out of the ECHR so the workers can't complain when we break their human rights, yes. And we'll blame the migrants. Everyone will love it, yes. That's Nigel Farage, by the way.
This borrowing on a mini budget saw mortgages and the cost of living soar. He's right to raise this issue. We're determined to tackle inequality. He'll be pleased to know that under this government...
The issue he's talking about is the north-south divide, but in my opinion, he didn't convey it very well. So there are people in the north doing the exact same job as some people in the south and getting paid vastly different monies because of the cost of the properties around them, the prices around them. And this is an issue. We can't have this country where in the north everything's cheap and in the south everything's expensive. Because then everyone in the south comes north to sell their shit to get more money and to buy their shit because it's cheaper. And everyone in the south, everyone in the north has to pay the higher prices of the south for things that you can only get in the south. HS2, the high-speed railway, was supposed to come all the way to the north, but then the Tories decided they couldn't afford it, and so scrapped the northern part of it. Even though it was supposed to help level up the divide in the north, they got rid of the northern part. Like, London doesn't care about the north. He knows this. He knows it, but he's got a cushy job with a nice house, getting a nice pension. Doesn't matter to him, does it? No offence, sir.
Wages are up, but we need to do more. We've had a pay increase for the 3.5 million lowest paid, and the Chancellor will deliver a budget based on Labour values.
Kevin Bainbridge, Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Let's see what the hacker has to say.
And can I associate our side of the House with the remarks the Prime Minister made about James Elliott? Can the Prime Minister tell us why his government is the first government in history to float increasing income tax rates only to then U-turn on it all after?
Keir Starmer U-turns more than a fucking German U-boat, man. He U-turns on everything.
To the actual budget.
I'll inform you the budget's actually next week rather than after the budget's only got 1 week to go. But I can tell her it'll be a Labour budget, Mr. Speaker, with Labour values. That means we will concentrate on cutting NHS waiting lists, cutting debt, and cutting the cost of living. And because of the decisions we've
I'd love to know how he's cutting debt like. I'd love to know that.
already made, inflation is down this morning. The Bank of England have upgraded
Inflation's down because the world economies are confident and stable, not because of him and his work.
growth. We've got a record £230 billion of investment into this country under this government.
Mr. Speaker, he says the budget is next week, but we read all about it in the papers. This is the first budget to unravel before it's even been delivered. The Chancellor's cluelessness, I'm afraid, is damaging the economy now. The Prime Minister needs to end this shambles. So can he confirm today that he won't break another promise by freezing income tax thresholds?
He's already broken loads of election promises. Do 16 and 17-year-olds have the right to vote? No. Okay, that was one of his election manifestos.
Mr. Speaker, the budget is 1 week today and we will lay out our plans. But what we won't do, Mr. Speaker, I've said what we will do in terms of protecting the NHS and public services. What we won't do is inflict austerity on the country as they did. It's caused huge harm. What we won't do is inflict a borrowing spree like Liz Truss did, also inflicted and did huge damage. Mr. Speaker.
How much debt does the UK lose each day? It's about 300 million, I think. The UK loses £382 million worth of debt every day, which is nearly the equivalent of 3 Typhoon jet fighters at the cost of 117 million each. So we lose about 3 fighter jets worth of money every day just to debt. That's not to buy something. That's not to build something. That's not to fix something. That's just because we owe so much money that the interest on it costs that much. So this country is losing 3 fighter jets worth of money every day. And he's saying it's all great. It's all hunky-dory.
Have they learned to...
Britain's doing grand, eh? What is that fucking shine on my forehead? Looks like I'm being burnt out, doesn't it? Maybe that's where the hole in my head, where my brain's supposed to go, is.
She's apparently got a golden economic rule, I think. So it's a very important rule, this golden rule. That there's this £47 billion of cuts with no detail. No wonder the Institute of Government says they're on very shaky foundations. They haven't listened and they haven't learned.
No, the Tories haven't learned a damn thing. Like, they haven't realised that cutting your way out of debt doesn't work unless it's a very small margin of debt. So if I owe a £10 debt on a credit card, right, that's easy to manage. You just make a £10 cut somewhere, pay off the £10, it's done. But if you have a £3 trillion debt, you can't make a £3 trillion cut and then pay off the debt, because we don't have £3 trillion. So the Tories don't understand that you actually need to make money by investing, and with that profit, you pay off the debt. That's how you fix a debt, is by making more money, because the debt is so much that cuts don't work. We had cuts for 14 years. You've all seen what it did. The NHS was on its knees, workers' rights were gone, the police services was cut to bits, crime was through the roof, fire services were being asked to work voluntarily, the ambulance services got cut to bits, doctors, nurses, teachers, everyone, the schools, everything that was public got cut to bits. They spent more money trying to prevent homelessness by installing like spikes and stuff than they did by like trying to house homeless veterans and stuff, and they closed youth centres but gave kids nowhere to go, and then start complaining that there's a rise in gangland culture. You took away all the youth centres, you bellends, right? So as much as it sounds like a great idea to cut your spending to pay off the debt. The Tories never paid off the debt. They just pocketed the money. Like, the problem is making an investment to create a profit requires the capital, the money. And the UK doesn't have the money, so it has to borrow that money. So Labour borrows lots of money to try and fix the problems, and the Tories cut things to try and fix things. Neither of these situations work. You need a... Labour will do this little investment here or this little investment here. What we really need is to industrialise Britain again. We've become a company of services, a country of services, rather than manufacturing and stuff. So what we need to do is offer the world something it wants to buy. Something we'll never run out of, something they'll always need, and something we can dominate the market with. I personally chose renewable energies because we get such bad weather. We can harness the kinetic energy of the bad weather into energy production and then sell the excess energy to the continent at market value, but sell energy to British people in Britain far below market value because we make it tax exempt as the taxpayers own GB energy. Keir Starmer's done that wrong as well. And so eventually you end up with low prices and no debt. And it costs very little to produce things in your country because the low energy costs. So you start being able to manufacture things at competitive prices on the global market again. Car companies want to put their factories in your country. Batteries and technology companies would want to. One of the main reasons this country has no manufacturing sector is the price of energy, right? So businesses have to pay absolute through the eyeballs to build something here and to sell something here. So if you can reduce the costs of them having to do that, they would then reduce the prices of that on the market in this country. Everything wins. Everything wins. I could be happy with what Labour's doing if they were doing GB Energy correctly, but they're not. Have you got a call from a company called GB Energy trying to ask you to change over, owned by the taxpayer? Your bill payments will go to the taxpayer's purse and will end up paying off national debt. Have you had that call? No. No. I can't even see where my camera is.
Mr. Speaker, it is quite clear that they are going to freeze thresholds. We didn't get a clear answer from them, but this is really important.
It doesn't look like I'm looking at it.
Because in her budget speech last year, the Chancellor said, and I quote, "I am keeping every single promise on tax that I made in our manifesto."
Oh, every single promise on tax. Specific wording there.
So there will be no extension of the freeze in income tax and national insurance thresholds. Why was freezing thresholds a breach of the manifesto last year, but it isn't this year?
Mr. Speaker, every week she comes along and speculates and distorts. Last year, Mr. Speaker...
She does, to be fair.
Last year they predicted recession. And what did we get? The fastest growing economy in the G7 in the first half of the year.
The reason we have the fastest growing economy is because we have such high levels of illegal migration that it makes the country look like it's doing better than it really is. It's fake growth. It's fake. Yeah.
They opposed NHS investment. And what do we get? 5 million extra appointments in the first year of a Labour government.
Quite a lot of them are smoking cessation ones. So some of their millions of appointments aren't actually genuine appointments they've freed up. They've just changed what's classified as an appointment so that it seemed like they've created more appointments. I hope that helps.
Tried growing the economy with millions on NHS waiting lists, with our schools crumbling and holes in our road. It didn't work. What do they want to do now? Go back to the same failed experiment.
Because for them it wasn't a failed experiment. For them it worked. The Tories exploit the poorest and most vulnerable in our society and give all the benefits to the most rich in our society. The business owners, the landlords, them sorts of people. They're donors. So it worked perfectly for them. They took all the money out of the public sector, the NHS, the police, the schools, the governments, the councils, and gave it to their friends. It worked perfectly for them. So it didn't work for the country, but it did work for the Tories. That's why they want to go back to it, because life was good for them.
Mr. Speaker, he talks about speculation. The only people who've been speculating are his government every single day for the last 3 months. And he mentioned inflation in his last answer. Inflation has nearly doubled since they came into office. He wants a round of applause because it's come down a little bit. I will remind him that food inflation is up 4.9%. That is making life miserable for all of those people out there.
Yeah! Bring down the price of gravy, Starmer. The price of pies. Do that. People might actually think you're alright.
But let's go back to thresholds, because this is important. When the Chancellor made that promise to unfreeze the thresholds, it wasn't an off-the-cuff comment. She said it on the floor of this House in her budget speech. That was a deliberate statement of government policy. So if she breaks such a clear promise, how can the public trust a word that she says next week?
Mr. Speaker, she talks about inflation. It went to 11% on that. 11%. And the country is still paying the price. Inflation is down this morning. Wages are up, and we've had 5 interest rate cuts, and that's because our fiscal rules are ironclad. And the leader of the opposition and the party opposition have no credibility on the economy. She was Treasury Minister during the worst decline in living standards on record. And she said that Liz Truss got the mini-budget 100% right.
Anyone who says Liz Truss got it right has no place in that room. No place whatsoever. She literally cost this country, like 80 to 100 billion in like 6 weeks. And just 2 weeks ago and last week, she was getting paid by Donald Trump to encourage people to accept his viewpoint that she thinks he should sue the BBC. Now, this is because Liz Truss has the personal bias that she would want to sue the BBC because she got beat by a lettuce, right? But so she's getting paid by the taxpayer, right? Because ex-prime ministers do, and then she's getting donations from Trump to try and get Trump to get money off the taxpayer. So she's essentially using the taxpayers' funding that we pay her for being an ex-prime minister to try and get a foreign leader to take money from the British taxpayer. And you wonder why her budget was such a failure. Because she's an evil monster. She's literally like Smeagol if Smeagol was a human female. That's Liz Truss. Precious trickle-down economics.
Not much room for flexibility there. 100%, that's pretty full marks, Mr. Speaker. She might want to tell us if that's still her position, 100% right for Liz Truss.
Mr. Speaker, I was Treasury Minister at the height of the pandemic. We cleaned up that mess. Maybe he could clean up some of it.
Did you? Or did millions of people die and it was mismanaged? Did you waste over 100 million on a track and trace system that didn't work? Did you buy PPE equipment from someone who had no authority to do it and make it, and it was one of your Tory donors? And the PPE wasn't even fit for purpose. Alright, now, she won't mention them parts, right?
His own mess.
Because she signed the fucking checks, you know? Like, she literally signed the fucking checks for that.
I'm going to repeat what the Chancellor said, because it's quite clear that the whole front bench has forgotten. She said, I have come to the conclusion that extending the threshold freeze would hurt working people. It would take more money out of their pay slips, and yet that's what they're planning to do next week. And all of this speculation is having real-world consequences. Just this morning, the UK chair of ExxonMobil said, and I quote,
Who? And why does their opinion matter more than mine? Who? I hate the fact that these politicians sometimes quote some backwards, privately funded organisation that has its own personal agenda as if they're some judge and arbiter of everything. They're not. I don't even know who the fuck this is. And she's talking about them. I give a fuck.
The government needs to understand that the whole industrial base of the UK is at risk unless they wake up and...
The industrial part of the UK has been at risk for decades because of the soaring price of energy. And that's it. It's the soaring prices of manufacturing is why we have not been able to maintain our industrialness on the world scale. It's quite simple. China has cheaper labour and cheaper energy costs. So it can produce things with cheaper workers and cheaper materials with cheaper energy costs. So the prices are cheaper and it's easy to make. We can't do that because the economy has been managed so badly. It's quite simple. You need to restore workers' rights and then industrialise Britain again by lowering the cost of energy. Energy in this country needs to be about 30% what it is currently. About 30, 33, 35% what it is currently. And then this country can manufacture things and we won't just be a call centre, basically.
And realise the damage their economic policies...
And the Tories are to blame for that as much as Labour, by the way. It's not one or the other. It's both of these cunts. Both of them. Both of these bellends, right, have been fucking up the economy for decades. Both of them. Ever since neoliberal economics was introduced into the UK in the 1970s, the private sector has grown at such a rate that it now sucks the public sector dry. So what we do is we create loads of national industry companies that operate within the private sector to balance it out.
are doing. Mr. Speaker, can the Prime Minister tell us, is the loss of UK industry the price the country has to pay for having a clueless Chancellor?
Mr. Speaker, let me just say about ExxonMobil, it is a difficult time for the workforce there, and we must focus on supporting them. We've been meeting the company for over 6 months and explored every possible reasonable avenue. They've been facing losses for the last 5 years. It's best to do the detail before you chunter. And they're currently losing £1 million a week. But she talks about policy and approach. On energy policy, she follows reform. On the European Convention, she follows the man who wants her job.
See, this is why, although I don't like Starmer because he bothered with Donald Trump more than he's bothered with me, and I feel like because he used my election manifesto issues in 2017 to win his last election, he kind of owes me. I feel like Keir Starmer owes me the fact that he used my 3 policies to win the election. Alright? I feel he owes me. And I don't expect him to put me at the top of his priority list, but he literally won the election with my policies. So I like the fact he's doing GB Energy, but he's doing it wrong. It should have already been up and running as an operational energy company that any UK citizen could switch to and get their gas and electric from. And it should be tax exempt because it's owned by the taxpayer, so it can produce and supply energy at a cheaper rate than the private sector because the private sector is subject to tax. So in theory, mathematically speaking, we should be able to produce energy as a country with a nationally owned energy company 20 to 30% cheaper than a private energy company or foreign national energy company because they're subject to tax and the national energy company would not be. So the energy company would be able to produce it at a cheaper rate so it could sell it at a cheaper rate so all British people could switch over to get cheaper electric with the national industry provider, and we would all be paying less electric. And the private sector energy companies would have to either lower their costs or find a way to lower their costs or leave the market, right? So the British-owned national energy company would take over. It would dominate the market. There would be no competing with it, right? And we're always going to need energy. And everyone in Britain would switch over because we want our money to go to the country, not to some German energy company or a French one. So although I don't like Starmer, he did put my GB Energy baby in the lines. He's done it wrong. He's done it wrong. It's not been done correctly. Maybe it will be in time. Maybe.
And when her shadow minister said we should deport people lawfully here to achieve cultural coherence, She pretended that it didn't happen. I could go on. She was the trade secretary that didn't sign any trade deals. Cheerleader for the mini budget, cheerleader for open borders, and when they were crashing the economy, botching Brexit, and running down the NHS, she was right at the centre. She hasn't got an ounce of credibility.
That's why she's a Tory.
Mr. Speaker, on energy policy, what we are doing is listening to industry.
Industry doesn't know. Oh my God. When it comes to the energy crisis, right, and the energy companies, their sole interest is how can we make the most money out of this situation. Their interest isn't how can we lower the price of energy for our customers. They don't give a shit about that, Kemi. You disingenuous human being, right? You're so disingenuous. How the hell do you think British Gas or some private energy company like E.ON or Utilita has the British public's best interest at heart? They don't.
Happened. I had a round table.
Ms. Slinger, please. We don't want to have to sling you out.
Mr. Speaker, just this morning, we heard from the chair of one of our largest energy companies. Last week, I had a round.
Yeah, but you don't speak to your average human being and your constituent. How come you think in the government that the voices of the owners of these businesses is more important than the citizens within your country? Like, your voters voted for you to come in and represent them, not so you could come in and represent some daft business owner who's donated some money to your political party. This is bullshit. This is corruption in its infancy, right? Where that she prioritises every week what businesses believe. She doesn't state what the problems of your average working man and woman is, because she doesn't care. The Tory party don't care about working people. They don't give a shit.
Roundtable with energy companies and what they had to say about this Prime Minister.
The energy companies have been extorting us for years. 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 They don't have to charge us what they charge us. They charge us for a profit, and they increase the prices for the profit margin. They're not willing to take a loss during an energy crisis. In fact, the prices went up, and obviously, why should we listen to an energy company? We just create our own energy company, you absolute morons. I'm so sick of these inept people in power. Please, someone get these people out of power. Please. All of them. All of them.
And his energy secretary is unprintable. They are absolutely furious. Our oil and gas industry is dying.
He's furious, is he? This business owner is furious. Why? Because he's not getting as much money as he normally does from exploiting people for their energy needs that they need to cook and clean with. Oh, we're sorry you're not getting as much zeros in your bank account, energy company. Sorry, what we'll do is we'll make our own energy company and you can leave. That's how it should work. Fuck off.
And he's standing there saying he had meetings. People out there are struggling, Mr. Speaker.
But now you mentioned people. But before it was the first people she mentioned were business, a business owner, and now she mentions people. Which people? The people who own businesses.
Budget chaos is causing real anxiety. People aren't buying houses, businesses,
Landlords,
aren't hiring, and they are
employers,
cancelling investment decisions.
Financial investors. Not one mention of a working person. Not one mention of a working person. Let's do that again.
We don't want to have to sling you out.
Mr. Speaker, just this morning, we heard from the chair of one of our largest energy companies.
One of our largest energy companies. Who gives a fuck? We're going to create our own energy company, and they can fucking lower their prices or get fucked.
Last week, I had a roundtable with energy companies, and what they had...
Oh, you sat in a room full of energy companies. So you let yourself be influenced and given a biased position by a group of companies who are trying to manipulate you into giving them a favourable position in the market when the country is trying to make its own energy company, GB Energy. That seems a bit treacherous to me. Typical traitorous Tories, huh? Rather sleep in bed with the oil billionaires than give cheap oil to the people who need it to drive to work. Sounds about right.
Had to say about this Prime Minister and his Energy Secretary is unprintable. They are absolutely furious.
Furious?
Oil and gas industry is dying, and he's standing there saying he had meetings. People out there are struggling, Mr. Speaker. The budget chaos is causing real anxiety. People aren't buying houses.
People aren't buying houses. Yeah, landlords aren't buying houses, you mean?
Businesses aren't hiring.
Businesses aren't hiring, yeah. Yeah, that's correct, because you care about businesses, not the workers.
They are cancelling investment decisions.
Financial investment people are cancelling their financial investments. Not one mention of a working person there struggling to buy bread or milk or their energy costs, you know. None of that. She doesn't care about that. You see what I mean about the Tories? They're so disgusting.
2 weeks ago, the Chancellor called a ridiculous press conference to blame everyone else for her having to raise income tax. Then last week, she U-turned on her own U-turn. Instead, we can see they're planning to freeze income tax thresholds, something she said last year would be a breach of their manifesto. They are making it up as they go along. Doesn't the country deserve better than government by guesswork?
Is that the best line she could come up with? Government by guesswork. Oh dear. I honestly, if she's still the Tory leader at the next election, they have literally no hope. They will not have any MPs left whatsoever. I swear to God, she is almost as useless as Liz Truss. I think not as quite as useless, but she's not as capable as Sunak. She's not as capable as David Cameron, and she's not as capable as Theresa May. I don't think she's as capable as Boris either. So I think she's literally the worst Tory Prime Minister I've seen in my lifetime except... the worst Tory leader I've seen in my lifetime except Liz Truss. She is definitely the second worst.
Speaker, either we renew our country with Labour or we go back to austerity 2.0 with reform of the Tories. They left waiting lists at record...
There is a third option. The country votes for an independent as a Prime Minister, rather than a political party that will put the party first and the people second, like Labour do, and like that. So Labour, when it comes to the budget, will do what they think's best for the country, but keeping in mind they want to do what's best for the Labour Party. And the Tories are the same. They'll do what is best for the Tory Party and try and make out they're also trying to do what's best for the country. But the underlying point that both these groups do is they do what's best for themselves first and foremost. They don't do what's best for the country and the people within it. Unfortunately, that's what parties do, and I think we need an independent, neutral Prime Minister who has no affiliation with any party. And I think we're going to keep having a corrupt government and a corrupt country until we have a neutral leader. I don't believe we will ever get out of this mess by voting in a new party to put themselves first instead of the country. And that's what reform will be. Reform will just put the reform political party first and then fuck everyone else. That's what these lot do. So voting in another party to solve the problem that the parties keep putting themselves first for 100 years, which is what Labour and the Tories have done, isn't going to actually solve the problem. Despite clearly hundreds of thousands of British people wanting to vote reform because they're sick of Labour and the Tories, thinking it's going to solve the problem, they're just going to create a new party to be exactly what they voted against to stop. It doesn't resolve the problem. So, I know people don't accept my viewpoint, but that's what I think.
Record highs, almost 1 million more children in poverty, and they wrecked our public services. She comes here to talk down the country. We're turning the page. More NHS appointments, free breakfast clubs, free childcare, more homes and better public services. That's what we're fighting for. A Britain built for all.
Lord Houghton.
Mr. Speaker, standing in the heart of Weymouth, the Rectory is an iconic building. Formerly a theatre, once a bustling cinema, and then a popular pub as well. And yet, for more than a decade, this building has stood empty. We want to turn this building into a thriving centre for arts and culture, hosting exhibitions...
Boring!
Champion treats, and to see giving...
David, leader of the Liberal Democrats.
Thank you
you, Mr. Speaker. Can I associate myself with the Prime Minister's opening remarks? And can I also join with him in congratulating Scotland on their amazing win?
Hey, go Scotland, go
Wish them well in
Scotland.
the World Cup. And can I also say I hope Wales soon qualifies?
Yeah! Good luck, Craig Bellamy and the team. England hope to see you there. Despite what many people believe, obviously I'm an English fan. I'm an England man, but I like to see Scotland and Wales do well. And although I'm a Newcastle fan, I like to see Sunderland do well. It's good for the area. It's good for the North East. It helps bring jobs and happiness to the area. And it gives a bit of friendly rival bantery to the Sunderland and Newcastle fans. Sunderland haven't been above Newcastle in the leagues for a long time. And I don't like the fact they're above Newcastle, but I like the fact they're so high in the table. So I like to see Sunderland do well. I like to see Scotland do well. I like to see Wales do well. I like to see Ireland do well. And I'd rather see France win the World Cup than, like, I don't know, America or Israel. Do you know what I mean? Even though I'm not that fond of the French, but they're still our neighbours. They're not the worst bunch of people. They've got good food and they certainly know how to hold people in power accountable, which, as you all know, something I quite like. But as you all know, I don't encourage violence against individuals. I don't agree with hurting anyone. And I don't agree with lying about these individuals. So anything you hear me say about all these MPs and that, I will believe to be true and to be factual. I'm not going to make up shit. Like, it's slander to make up shit. So if I was to say, like, Ed Davies eats Twiglets with a spoon, right? That's slander. There's no, it's a false accusation. It's a false statement about him. But if I was to say he does stupid dances on TikTok for attention, that's a fact. It's not slander. Some people out there need to learn what slander is. Defamation and slander is where you've wrongly said things wrong about someone. So when people are like making out Trump's on the Epstein list, that's not slander because he is.
England and Scotland. But Mr. Speaker, every year there are more than 300 suicides related to problem gambling. It affects hundreds of thousands of families, tearing them apart. Meanwhile, online gambling firms are taking in record revenues of over £7 billion a year. Now, ITV News
Big business
are reporting that one of them, Sky Bet, is moving its headquarters to Malta so it can save tens of millions of pounds in corporation tax. Does the Prime Minister agree with me that it's time that we tax them on their UK profits so these online gambling firms don't escape wherever they are registered for tax?
Prime Minister.
You should be taxing every UK company on its UK profits. Every company. The same as when someone gets fined for like speeding or littering, you should be fined based on what your income is. So if you should get fined like maybe 1% of your income, right, for speeding, 1% of your monthly income. So if you only earn 20 grand a year, right, you'll maybe pay like a small fine, you know, £50, whatever, £100, £200, whatever. But if you're a millionaire and you're caught speeding, you pay 1% of your monthly income. That is, fines by the courts in the UK should scale to income. And the fact we don't do that is disgusting. So you could have like someone in a Lamborghini could speed down the road and get charged, or can litter. Like, some rich people don't even care about getting fined. Like the big businesses like Google and Facebook, they don't care about getting fined. They can afford it. But when you find a hard-working poor person, that same percentage you find the other person, but it doesn't scale. It's not equal. It's not fair. That's like taxing a poor person more than you're taxing a rich person because they earn less. That's essentially what it is, disguised as a fine. So I actually agree with Ed Davies on that. I do agree with Ed Davies there, but it should be for all UK companies, not just gambling ones. Every company in the UK should have its taxes that it has to pay based on the amount of money it makes in the UK. I don't believe we have any jurisdiction to tax a company on its global revenue outside the UK. We can only tax it on its revenue inside the UK. So instead of like dilly-dallying about every UK company who operates in the UK should pay tax on any money made in the UK. It's that simple. You can't move to Malta and then claim less corporation tax, surely, because your corporation is still operating in England. So how does that even work? Should I just, like, create a prostitution ring and be a pimp, right? And then set up a house somewhere in a country where that's legal, and then do it all from webcams in England, and then claim I'm not breaking the law. Because it's legal to do it there, and I'm just facilitating the communications. Like, you see what I mean? Like, this is what I mean. When it's okay for companies to evade tax, then it's okay for you to not tell the government how much tax you owe them, isn't it? Like, what we need to have an equal and fair society in all aspects. So, fines need to be changed. The legal court systems need to be changed. Everything needs to be changed and fixed and upgraded. It's all shit. It's all fucking shit. You got Google and Starbucks evading tax. Fucking Starbucks were saying if they have to pay this tax, they might have to leave the UK. Then fucking leave. Fuck off. Someone else will sell coffee. Like, you think you're the only coffee seller in the world, Starbucks. Go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. People used to go to Starbucks, never me, to get a coffee and then leave. And like, sometimes they want to sit down and chill with their friends, have a nice bit of food. So you know what Starbucks did? They got rid of all the seating, they got rid of all the sitting down part, you know? And so now it's just like a fast food coffee place, and so it's failing as a business. The one thing people went there for, they got rid of. And that's what reform is. Reform was created to stop the two-party duopoly that Labour and the Tories have had for 100 years. But they'll end up becoming the very one thing they tried to stop, which was part of the duopoly. They're not ending the game of duopoly reform. They're trying to replace the Tories within it. This is the problem you need to understand. The Reform Party aren't there to stop the duopoly. They're there to replace the Tories within it. And me, I'm against the duopoly. So I'm not for a party that wants to replace themselves in the game. I want to end the game and create a new one. But you can all do what you want. I'm just one voice amongst 70 million, and you all won't listen to me. You'll let a glass screen tell you what to think and what to do, so I'll be on the glass screen and hope maybe you listen one day. But I'm not going to carry on listening to these jerks. Nothing really good this week. Have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.
Look, can I